Gus and Gwen, you are my entire world, and I love you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've found yourself at a new episode of The New Nation. Thank you for being here. Before we get started, a couple words. I'd like you to like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell, put this video in my channel into the YouTube algorithm so that it can reach more people. I'd really appreciate that. Also, go to buymeacoffee.com/thenewNation. It's how you're able to contribute monetarily to the show. We do appreciate you engaging in the content, but I'd also like to be able to do this somewhat part-time as a living. So Buy Me a Coffee is a good place where you can contribute to the show. Now, I've had the displeasure of watching both the RNC conventions and the DNC conventions, and I've had my moments of disgust from both. That can be said for sure. But I found myself very interested in something that happened earlier in the week regarding the potential vice president of the United States of America, the vice presidential candidate of the United States of America, Tim Walz, and his son. And his son becomes overcome with emotion. And after being mentioned by his dad, he starts applauding and saying, "That's my dad." Here, look at the video.
And when our daughter was born, we named her Hope. Hope, Gus, and Gwen, you are my entire world, and I love you. I'm letting you in on how we started a family.
So I thought two things after I saw this. That's kind of sweet. And then my second thought was, that's kind of cringe. But then what I didn't suspect was that night and the following day, a lot of conservative or conservative adjacent accounts that I follow on X were like ripping into this kid. And I think that some of the reasons were valid, but not important. I think there's a difference between valid and important. And let me preface this by saying, I don't think this kid, I don't really know how old he is. I won't even get into that. I won't even research the basic facts of what I'm about to say. I think he might be 17, 18, young adult territory. So if I were to consider him a man, was it appropriate of him to cry during this moment? No. As a man who's nearing 40, I think that there are a couple appropriate situations in which men can cry. Those are, and some are obvious, the death of your father or mother, maybe grandparent, but father, mother, siblings for sure. The birth of your child, the death of a child, and maybe something like achieving a lifetime achievement award where you're able to thank your wife, thank your kids, and thank the community around you. Something like that. The off and rare occasion is a movie. I'm a little bit more emotional when it comes to movies. I love film, so film sort of brings out something extra inside of me. However, I don't do it in public. I'll do it at home in the privacy of my own home. I'm not going to start sobbing in a movie theater or anything like that, where I become vulnerable in front of my children or my wife. Not going to do that. There's a time and place. So did I think that it was an appropriate reaction for this kid who, I don't know, the kid necessarily isn't a public figure. His father is. So I don't think the attention was worthy, if that makes any sense. I thought it was just something that like is an easy target to dunk on. And there was one account in particular that was doing a lot of dunking on this poor kid. And let me get into it. So it's someone that I follow, 9mm SMG on X. I'm not calling him out. I'm not criticizing him for doing this in the way that he did it. It was one of the first posts that I saw going after him that I thought was interesting. So the first post was, "You're pro-mass deportation but are seething about Tim Walz's son getting picked on online. I have bad news for you regarding mass deportation." Now, when I first saw this, I kind of laughed at it because he did have a point. But I saw a little bit of the reaction from conservatives saying, "Hey, don't pick on this kid. He's just a kid. He's a special needs kid," or something like that. "He's an autist," or something. "It's not really worth the time or the energy to pick on this kid," which I kind of agree with. Also, the second thing that I thought of is conservatives need to have a thicker skin, which, 9mm was pointing out. But at the same time, it really is a waste of energy to waste on this kid. What's the point? I mean, we don't like it when liberals or progressives or the left wing will pick on, let's say, the children of Trump or, whoever. We don't like that. So to return that energy just seems kind of like a lose-lose. It's not worth it. Another one of the posts was a video of, I guess, Tim Walz leading his family out on stage, and he yanks his son's hand, you know? I don't know if he was yanking it out of anger or frustration, or if he was yanking it to get it out of the way of the stand that they walk in front of. You can obviously see the video here. But 9mm says, who yanks their cognitively disabled son like that? What's going on in the Walz household? It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, look at what Tim Walz is doing with his son's hand. This is how we win. We point out this irrelevant behavior that isn't pertinent to who Tim Walz is or the policies that he stands for. Remember, Tim Walz signed into a bill in, where is he? Wisconsin or whatever the hell he is, whatever, northern Midwestern state or whatever. He signed a bill into law that allows pedophiles to cite human rights protections in trials. He's the guy that put, tampons in the boys' restroom. He's the guy that signed abortion bills well late into the third trimester of pregnancies. I think up to the moment of birth. So Tim Walz, on his policies alone, is a piece of shit. I'm happy saying that. So I don't need to look at the behavior with how he holds his son's hand in public to determine that this is a bad guy or not. I don't have to look at body language cues to know that he's a bad guy. I look at his policies, I look at what he's done, and I look at what he's said. So this whole waste of energy, look at this, look at his son. It's so dumb. It's kind of cringe, and it's kind of gay in the same way that his son's reaction was kind of cringe and kind of gay. But also kind of like unworthy to talk about. And it's just the last post I saw of 9mm SMG. Not to be rude, but did they give him a Lloyd Christmas haircut for exploitative purposes? He doesn't have one here. And I guess, this picture of Walz and his son driving, kid with a normal haircut, and then a little bit later, he does have the Lloyd haircut there. And I don't know what he's trying to say with that. Were they trying to make him look silly on purpose so that you can have some sort of compassion for this kid? I don't know. Is it worth expelling the energy over? No. And it's just one of these things that conservatives, so-called conservatives, people on the right, they attack the wrong thing. Some of the conservatives have done a good job on this when they're talking about, at the RNC specifically, the Indian lady doing the weird Hindu chant prayer at the closing prayer for one of the days. How cringe Kid Rock's performance was. Who else? Amber Rose on stage, the horror on stage, the former leader of the Slut Walk on stage, advocating for big tent republicanism or big tent conservatism, the outwardly supportive nature of sodomy of the RNC and abortion as well. We have to remember that the Republican Party is a party of abortion. Just because you're bringing abortion down to 8 or 12 weeks doesn't mean you're pro-life, okay? And that's one of the things that I wish conservatives would attack more than they would the son, an autist son of a vice president and his body language. You know what I mean? I might lose some of you over this. I might gain some of you over this. But what my main point is are we wasting time here? Is time being wasted? Is energy being wasted? And I think the answer to that is yeah. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, the New Nation, you can follow me on Instagram. Like, comment, share it, whatever. We're going to see you next time for a possibly different video, different route. So it's not always politics here. We'll see you guys next time.